Welcome to the Freebirth podcast, a supportive space for people who are learning, exploring, and celebrating their autonomous choices in childbirth. Together, we'll unpack truths, share personal stories, and claim our ability to birth freely and intuitively. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
Quick note at the top of the show here, this is your last chance to get our pre-sale price for our online course, The Complete Guide to Freebirth. We're offering the course for this final week at almost half price. That's only $369. The course is a very comprehensive and in-depth look at everything we believe anyone would need to know about home birth, free birth, and giving birth in your power. The Complete Guide to Freebirth will likely never be available at this low price again. So dive on into our course and learn what you need to feel confident, educated, and prepared for the birth of your dreams. Joined this week by Morgan from Florida. With a history of sexual abuse and after experiencing obstetrical violence in her first two births, Morgan knew she would be staying home with this new baby. She shares her raw and real story about surprise pregnancies, overcoming addiction, and her discovery of self-love through her free birth. Finding no support in her husband to birth at home on her own terms, Morgan tells the incredible story of how she labored while he slept and birthed the baby alone in her bathroom, and in that experience found a level of power, love, and confidence that would change her life.
So I had my first child very unexpectedly. I was in college, but I dealt with a lot of rape trauma. Well, that's the thing. I did not deal with rape trauma, and I suppressed that. And I had about a full year of a really intense pill addiction. Mm-hmm. And I became pregnant because I was totally reckless. And so I was pregnant, and I checked myself into treatment for 9 weeks. And, that was all successful, but, trying to deal with that. And I wasn't even focused. I just went into birthing completely mainstream, just with the doctor. My daughter was born in a hospital, and she had meconium, and I didn't get to hold her for 30 minutes probably. There was at least a dozen people in the room. I was so scared. Like I'm decently modest, I don't have trouble like wearing a low cut shirt, that's not what I mean, but, I just don't feel comfortable. I've never felt comfortable with doctors. I've never felt comfortable having, someone else's hand inside of me, all these things. So, but you say, of course, but so many people are like, well, what's the big deal?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Right. So I spent my entire life just thinking all that was normal. So, her birth, and then, I was raising her alone because her father was still, very into his addiction. So I just cut off everything with him and did it by myself and finished school and, met somebody else, and, I accidentally got pregnant again, but at least, my life was much, much more stable now. Mm-hmm. And I still went into it, just, had a hospital birth, all of that. And, that's my partner now. We're still together. And so I had my son only 15 months after my daughter. And again, I was unprepared. Learning about birth was just irrelevant for me. I just was not at that place yet. So again, I had a hospital birth, and that doctor was really awful. That doctor is the reason, probably. He and I went in one morning. I knew I was in labor. I was having consistent contractions, and they didn't believe me just because I'm pretty calm all the time. Like, I don't really make a scene. I'm not loud. And, I was just telling them, hey, I'm in labor. Didn't believe me, whatever. Finally, I get back there. He checks me and he's like, oh, yeah, I was like 5 or 6 centimeters. And okay, I'm just going to strip your membranes. Instead of asking, do you want me to strip your membranes? It was like, I'm getting this check, and then boom, that was really, really painful. So that was my first, like, what? Why did he do that to me without asking me? Like that, and this is after, I have actually, actively dealt with my rape trauma. So I can identify these things a little better. And, that was really awful for me. He didn't really, he was just, I was a number. I was not a person. I was there to pay for his giant house and, downtown and all that. So here we are. And 5 years later, I get pregnant again. And I knew, I've had 5 years to be a mother and figure out what kind of parent I want to be. And then I really, dug into everything that is associated with like attachment parenting, because that's what I identified with. And then learned how much better birth can be. I joined Facebook groups and, not just natural birth. And, I saw all these happy women, and I thought, I want that. So for the next birth, I didn't do anything for 20 weeks. I was so scared to see anybody because of how awful I was treated.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything because it was very instinctive. I've never known anybody that hasn't, sought treatment or, prenatal care. Well, you can still, obviously, you and I know you can still have prenatal care without going to see anyone.
Of course.
So I didn't do anything. And then at 20 weeks, I knew I needed to have some kind of documentation. I went in to see a midwife, and I'm sorry, I will back up.
It's okay.
I was very sick from day one. That's how I knew I was pregnant. I was just so sick. My other 2 pregnancies were a breeze. I worked up until the very end. They were very easy, but the third baby, I was very, very sick. And I tried everything that, the B6 Unisom and whatever that concoction is. And what helped me was cannabis. That was the only thing that made me functional.
Sure.
My partner lost his job, and I had to go to work. I've stayed home primarily the whole time since they've been born. And, I had to work. We had to pay our mortgage. So there was no way for me to do anything without it. And I felt like I was doing it really responsibly. And I made, my own tincture. Obviously, I'm in a state where it's illegal. And the midwives are very regulated. Everything's so regulated. And,
I'm sure you could go get a ton of pharmaceuticals for your nausea.
Right. So that's that. I went into that appointment, and I tried, to be honest with her. And I said, look, this is the only thing that's working for me. And then, she tried to prescribe me something else that has whatever it is. It has like the known side effects and birth defects that come. And that was just like, I said, I can't do this. And I didn't go back. And so from day one, I just knew that I was going to be birthing alone. Like I kept having this vision of just me alone. And I told my mother, I don't want you at this birth.
And what about your man?
So I was not able to really talk with him about all that.
What do you mean?
He was completely unsupportive.
Oh.
he is, I love him, but I met him at a time where like my views of things were differently, and we still align on a lot of things, but he doesn't understand the feelings of violation, and he's never been in my shoes.
Right.
So it's hard to explain trauma to someone when it's normal.
But he was at your second birth.
Yeah. He was there in the hospital with me, and but when you think it's normal, his mother was a labor and delivery nurse for years.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. I ache for how common this is, that wonderful husbands, that are, and otherwise are totally connected, are not in this area so often. And we're talking about real abuse and violation that you experienced that led you to, a very serious decision. That's a big deal in society, to dissent in this way and to have to stand your ground in such a big way, like cannabis oil over pharmaceuticals, birthing alone, not having obstetrical care, in Florida of all places.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing. This is a big deal. So it hurts my heart to hear that you weren't supported by your partner, because it's a common story. And anyway.
Right. Well, that's why I wanted to tell my story, because I want people to know that they can still do it. I told him, I'm seeing the midwife, whatever. And he really wanted an ultrasound. So she was able to order that. And I had the one ultrasound, and, so I compromised on things with him, but I knew that I was having that baby into my own arms. I just knew. So I live in Florida, and there were, we had a lot of hurricanes last year. So I was kind of interpreting it that these visions of me delivering my own baby were that I wasn't going to be able to, I thought the hurricane was going to, we were going to be stuck in our house. I don't know why. So I had joined a lot of unassisted groups before I found like your podcast, and I joined unassisted groups for emergency situations. And I just really dived in and, learned and tried to prepare myself the best I could. So I still didn't have like any kind of solid plan, what I was going to do exactly, but I was just preparing myself because I just knew it was going to go good. I knew it was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
I know why. Because you're connected, because you have intuition, because you're a woman.
Yeah.
Is like I love that, because we don't have to know why, because the knowing is ancestral. The knowing is biological. And sometimes, like in your case, and in so many cases, sometimes you have to see what the system can provide for you or not provide for you, to like override that and get back in touch with this deep ancestral knowing in your bones that you're going to do this and that it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. And that's what it was. And, it was just so wonderful being at peace. I thought that I would stress about it, but I really didn't. And so I felt really confident that I knew what to do. My other labors were easy. They would have been fast if they weren't, full of intervention and people bothering me. So the day before my guest date, my mom asked if she said, why don't you guys go out to dinner? I'll take, your two older kids. So we went to our favorite Italian restaurant, and I had my favorite ravioli, and we had a great night and went home. And I thought that maybe I just ate too much. And I was on the toilet for a long time. And then, that gush came. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. So it was later at night, we had to like watch a movie, and at this point in my pregnancy, I could only sleep like sitting up on the couch. So we were in like separate rooms anyway. So he went into his room and went to bed, and I just couldn't even believe that this was happening. I was so like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like, I have this whole side of my house to myself. My 2 older kids are gone. I can just be here. And I closed my eyes and dove into the craziest shit of my life.
Go on.
Oh my God. I did not, it was so cool. I mean, like, it was cooler than mushrooms. It was cooler than anything. Like, of course I was uncomfortable and in pain, but the ability to 100% focus myself, like nobody's talking to me. All I can hear is like the water in my pool. And, you know, I was in a back bathroom in my house that like has a little door that opens up to the screen porch, and the pool is right there. And I don't really know. I think it was maybe like 2.5 hours. And I mainly just, you know, squatted over the toilet and rode with the waves. And when I closed my eyes tight, you know, there was the visuals there, and just rainbows. And it was just so amazing and so not scary. And just, you can't even put into words how empowering. Like, I am so incredible. That's what I just kept thinking. Like, this is amazing. And thankfully at like once I got his head out, I was like, oh, I should turn my phone on. And, you know, so I got like the rest of the body, me pushing him out on camera, on video. That was a nice little thing to have. I'm glad I thought of that.
So how long was this? How long roughly do you feel like the labor was?
I think it was about 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So not long at all.
And your man is asleep?
Yeah, he's asleep. Him and the dog.
Did you like even let him know that you're going to be in labor?
No. I mean, he knew I was like on the toilet, and I said, it could be whatever, but I thought I'll wake you up. But we had already had the discussion that if something like this happened, I would call 911 in a heartbeat. You know, that's what he's told me. So
oh my God.
that was not an option for me. I was not going to let him ruin this for me. This is probably my last baby, and I needed this so badly. It worked out so perfectly, and, I wasn't going to let him ruin it because of his fears. And,
it's interesting that I'm like trying to picture it, and I totally hear what you're saying. It's interesting that he like just went to bed. Like if he was really that, had an idea that you were in labor, and I mean, it doesn't matter. This story is about you and it's freaking badass, but I'm just like trying to like picture his mentality of he knows that you're on the toilet, and he just kind of is like, whatever, and goes to bed. And then he wakes up and you have a baby in your arms.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think like, he's not like, if I'm like, hey, I have diarrhea, he's kind of like, okay, I'll give you your space, That's, but yeah, so I delivered him in my arms, just like I knew, just like I saw in my head for the last 9 months. And we just sat there, and, I had actually shared my video in the group, and I was like, I'm so confused because I had him, and it was not like crying tears of happiness. And I was just like, whoa, just looking at him. And I really couldn't believe what happened. And I was trying to come back into reality.
Yeah.
I was so like out of it and in another place. that, it took me like probably 20 minutes, and, we nursed, and he was awesome, crying, healthy, beautiful, perfect color.
I want you to take me back to the actual birth, like where your body started to push and he emerged from you.
So, my son's room is right next to this little, I'm in like a half bath with just a toilet and sink. That's where I labored the most of the time. And so my son's room is connected right there. And I just grabbed a big blanket and put it on the ground. And it felt really comfortable for me to just be on my knees, but on not, squatting. I'm just squatting over this blanket, but I'm more upright as well. And just pushing. Letting it come and just going with it. And he just came out. I just had that one last, I'll send you the video as well, but that one last big grunt, and I just caught him into my arms.
So beautiful.
It was amazing. And then we got to sit there, and it was just him and I for, 20 or 30 minutes. And so then I said, okay, well, I need to go show him the baby.
Oh my God.
So I walk into the room, and I just told him, don't freak out.
Are you I'm picturing you hiding the baby under a blanket or something.
Well, so yeah, I'm holding the baby with, he's obviously still attached with his umbilical cord. My placenta's still in. And I walk over just up to the bed and touch him. I'm holding the baby.
Oh my God.
And the first thing, my dog, I'm sure she smelled all this.
Right.
And she just perked up and is looking at me and trying to figure out, I turned the lamp on next to him, and I said, I just had the baby. So it took about 10 minutes for him to understand that this was real. Wow. He really definitely thought he was dreaming, or, it's not easy to wake him up.
Oh my God. You're like, no, this is real.
Yeah. I'm like, this is real. This is our baby.
You're like, could you clean up the bathroom?
Well, that's what and I know how he works, and I know how he functions. So I just said, if you call 911, I'm never talking to you again.
Oh my God.
I said, I need you to go get a shoelace, and I need you to get those surgical scissors and go boil them. And, we just waited a little bit, and, I could feel that I was contracting, and my placenta, was ready to come, and he helped me deliver my placenta. And then, we just left it in a bowl. He ran a bath for me, and, I just held the baby and nursed him in the bath, and we waited a little bit, maybe an hour and a half, and, tied off the cord, and he did all that for me.
Did he calm down eventually?
Oh yeah, he did. And he was so excited, and he just kept saying, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe this just happened. And, he looks back on it now, and he is an absolute supporter of, doing this naturally. And because I was that example for him, he had only seen medicalized birth, and for him, he saw how well I bonded with the baby and how calm the baby was. Just it's so different, this child, and it hurts me a little bit, because our bonds are different, with the baby. And
yeah.
But obviously, I'm so grateful for it, and I love that I was able to show him that this can be normal, and he agrees. So, anyway, we got all cleaned up, and I put my placenta in the freezer, and we went to bed. He was very adamant that a doctor just look at the baby. So
at what stage postpartum?
Well, we went to bed. So like noon the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weekend. It was a Friday night when this happened. He was born at like 1:00 in the morning. So yeah, the next day at like noon, I really did not want to take him in, but we didn't. It was only like a 20-minute thing. I just said, I just want you to look at him.
Did you go to the hospital or a pediatrician?
Yeah.
Or?
So I just went to the ER because I called around to a lot of pediatricians, and mine wasn't open till Monday, and nobody would look at the baby except for the emergency room. So
Gotcha.
I took him to a very quiet, small, new one. And I said, I don't want anything done. I just want you to look at him. And so for whatever reason, a doctor telling my partner that he's fine, he's healthy, that was that reassurance he needed.
That makes me feel crazy.
Me too.
It makes me feel so crazy.
Yes.
Like, cause really why does another man have to validate your intuition? And I'm not targeting, him. It's constant. It is like, if another, man who I'm going to trust more than the woman who, actually knows. And exactly, that's the irony is you said, I don't want anything done.
Yeah.
So what, what even, and this is where it's not, where inquiry's not applied on the man's part, because if you're not going to agree to a series of tests and whatever, things that they could do, because your husband has no idea what they're going to do. He just, the idea of being checked out, air quotes, is this fairly unexplored concept. And I hear it all the time. I just did 3 interviews this week of women all saying the exact same thing. I free-birthed at home without my partner's support, and our compromise was to go to the hospital and get checked out. And nothing happened to the baby, or a lot happened to the baby, and it just was a, cascade of interventions, because it could go either way. So yeah, I implore anyone listening to consider that part of what does it even mean to be checked out? If rightfully so for you, that you were like, I don't want anything done. And so it was just this like ritual of going there, but not really applying like actual information of what would happen or could happen.
Exactly. Yes. I went in, and I tried to explain that to him before, like, I refused to be admitted anywhere. And I had called around, and they all, they can't even, whoever's answering the phone in the hospitals, they just think that it's the craziest situation ever. When you explain, hi, I just had it. And, you suddenly have 7 heads, and you're just insane. Of course you need to come in here and stay for 2 days. And I said, I'm absolutely not doing that. I do not need to be checked out. Don't worry about me. I'm good. So they weighed him, took his temperature,
Exactly.
Oh, can we give him this eye ointment? Can we give him this shot? Can we give him, no, I just went in telling them, oh no, I have all that worked out with our pediatrician on Monday, which I didn't, but that, and they were fine, and they left us alone. And evidently, our scale weighing him there was not good enough.
Exactly. Like literally the stuff you're agreeable to, you could just do at home, but it's not really about this. The deeper issue is that, you felt like you had to, or agreed to make a compromise with your partner to do something that was against logic and your best, what you knew was best. And I'm not trying to be overly critical of your relationship. I hear this dynamic all the time, and I feel for you. That is a tough spot to be in. Like bringing your newborn into the ER, that's the last thing you want to do after the badass, sovereign birth experience you just had.
I know, and I cried. I did not want to bring him at all. And it's just, it was patronizing when you come, when it all boils down. That's exactly what it was. And I'm very critical of the relationship that I have with him. And, I wish that I wish it was different. I wish we had an openness there, but we don't, and that's the reality.
Right.
And I, like I said, I was not going to let anybody stop me.
That's amazing.
So
that's really inspiring. That's, because I work with a lot of women who, and in my group, you probably see it too, almost every day. It's how do I get my partner on board? How do I get him to let me? My husband won't let me, all of this languaging. And it drives me crazy because on the other hand, I know women who, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. It would not be my preference and it's not their preference, but they leave in labor and go birth at a hotel, or they, do what you did and are quiet about it and go in the bathroom and then say, hey, don't freak out. This just happened. Yeah. And what a example of, you're obviously choosing to be in this relationship. This is the cost. Every relationship has a cost of admission, and you're very aware of that, just as everybody's relationship has some cost. And, you took it into your own hands and went and had a psychedelic, powerful, gorgeous, incredible, perfect, undisturbed birth experience in your own home while your partner slept. And then he got to be a beautiful part of third stage and immediate postpartum. And I love this story. I hope it really, I hope it goes far and wide, because I'm really sick of women feeling like other people own them and they can't make their own decisions, and that they need permission from anybody else to birth the way that is most intuitive to them. And you're an example of not needing that.
Right. Yeah. It's, why would I compromise that? That's all I kept reminding myself. Yeah. I don't need, for what? Mm-hmm. No way. So my body knew when it was time, the perfect moment. It was very much meant to be. And, my mother, the next morning, she was going to bring my kids back over, and, we just surprised her with the baby.
Oh my God.
So she thinks I'm still pregnant, and she was crying hysterically because she said she felt so bad that I was alone.
You're like, no.
And, oh my gosh, you must have been so scared. And I said, Mom,
projection.
I said, do not feel bad for me. This was the greatest thing that could have ever happened. Like, as far as, how my birth could have gone, it was perfect. So, now she understands it a little bit more. And, I still have to say, we just, we didn't make it to the birth center. Because I'm just, I'm not at that point where I'm ready to deal with all of that from everyone, I'm very confident talking about it with people that understand. And that's,
sure.
I'm so grateful for this space that you have made, because I found it 5 days. I found the group, like 5 days after I gave birth.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I had really only been exposed to like emergency unassisted.
Right.
So I found this and I just cried. I was like, oh my gosh, there are people that also do this on purpose. And it was so validating. And
that's awesome. That's literally the whole point of why I set this up. Was the idea occurred to me, or was presented to me from Indie Birth and the amazing Taking Back Birth podcast that Maren Green does. And I found it at a time when I was really seeing how licensed midwifery was letting down my clients, and realizing that I couldn't have a licensed midwife at my birth. And it just was like a light bulb. And I was like, oh my God, not only can I do this on my own terms and by myself or with, people of my choosing, but other women are also doing this. I have to get these stories out. And so because of you sharing this story, I guarantee it, I will have people that email me and message me and say, because of her story, I fired my doctor, or I birthed alone in a bathroom. It happens every time I release an episode. Every time I get contacts from women all around the world, not just in our country, all around the world, saying, because of this episode or this episode, I had no idea that this was a normal thought. This has been burning in my heart, or I cannot have another C-section. And because there's 50 episodes of women doing this, or because of 3,500 women in this group, I know that I'm not crazy, and I can stand in my community with this secret or with being exposed, either way, and know that I'm not crazy.
I know. And it's just, how awesome is that? How awesome.
It's huge.
And more and more women are going to be healed and
babies
empowered.
Yeah.
Yes.
And partners. I mean, it's, if you were to have another child, I'm sure that your partner would feel super different about it now that it all went so splendidly.
Right.
And that's
absolutely.
It's hugely impactful. I mean, you birth in power, you heal the world. It's real. It's incredible. And we cannot afford to have any more broken women from fucked up abusive births. We cannot afford for more babies to be born in trauma unnecessarily. We can't afford it. The vast majority of babies are being born into violence and from violence. And it is why I do this. It is why I get up every day and I'm charged and I focus on this. And this is my entire freaking life, because we cannot afford it. And so it's why these stories are so important, and to highlight not just the significance and the dopeness of birthing in power, but the simplicity of it, that literally all you did was follow your own intuition and walk over to your bathroom. It wasn't this whole big thing. It wasn't this whole orchestrated, thing. I mean, internally, of course, but that it's the most simple thing in the world to just stay home and to just let yourself be your guiding compass, and it is heartbreaking that is radical, right? I mean, that is insane.
I know it is so insane that we are treated like just absolute crazy people to think this way, but it's so normal.
And we will have the last laugh. Well, it's not funny, but we will have the last benefit, because you have a healthy baby, not born in trauma, born to a woman who feels in her power, that followed her instincts. I mean, that is now exemplified to your children. And anyone who is committing or has birthed in power and followed their instincts, I mean, that's a whole new wave of womanhood that is taking back birth and healing families and healing men and healing these little babies. And I mean, it's the last laugh is the wrong term to use, because like I said, it's not funny, but we are reaping the benefits of normal physiological birth and bonding and attachment therapy and all of this stuff that the babies and of our next generation are going to benefit in an undeniably scientifically based way.
Yes, I know. And it's so, I never imagined that having a baby my way would bring out all these other things about me. Like, I just feel like a lot more outspoken now. I'm not scared to say what I want to say.
Cool.
I just feel like a much more radical feminist. Radical in every way. I think I can say for the first time in my life, like, I love myself. I'm so proud of myself. I can't wait to see like what's going to happen. It just transformed me. It's what I needed.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool to hear. That's so inspiring. And of course, right? How could it not affect every part of your life? How could it not? It's birthing yourself into a new level of power, and then you get to feel that for the rest of your life. Yeah.
We're taught as women to be quiet and submissive. And, when you realize that you can say, fuck that, I'm going to do what I want to do. It's just amazing. And that was the catalyst that I needed to be me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's so cool that like platforms like this, like I am like that just by nature. I've always been like that. And so I've created this platform where I'm like, anybody else who feels this way, please come get loud with me. And all of these women are like, oh my God, and they're getting loud, and they're getting louder in their communities, and they're birthing more on their terms, and they're, following their instincts, like you said, beyond just birth. But a woman in our group just announced that she just breastfed in public for the first time. And it's her second baby. It made me cry.
That's sweet.
I know. And it's such a big deal what's happening here. And, for anyone listening, we are in a virtual circle around the world, empowering each other and lifting each other up and birthing in power and doing our best and getting loud. And, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to claim your story. And, if you can't find anywhere else to share it, please email me, get on a Skype with me, find our group, join this, because we need each other to do this, to validate and normalize what we're doing.
Absolutely. And it's, isolation is so toxic, and you can thrive. It's so much easier to thrive when you have community and validation and,
Yeah, it's just
imperative. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Oh, girlfriend, thank you. It was so nice to connect with you. What a cool, brave, courageous, badass story. I'm excited to share it. And I
loved your story too. That was so fun. I'm like, oh my God, she really just left the hospital.
I know.
Pushing.
That was
I
so
wish
insane.
that I could have been a fly on a wall.
Me too.
Like nurses, like, what the hell is this woman doing?
I am not exaggerating. There was like 8 or 9 with their jaws dropped open. Like, we were just, once I knew I was good, we were just like laughing. And I mean, I'm so grateful no one called CPS or anything crazy on us, because we were like, peace out. Yeah, it was awesome.
That is awesome.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That's it for today, everyone. Join us next week for another episode of the Free Birth Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your body, your choice. Lots of love.